Welcome everyone to Three Guys, One Music. I'm Jamie. I'm here with Mike and Grant. What is up,
Hello.
guys?
Hello,
Howdy,
sir.
howdy, howdy.
What is happening? Little birdie told me you guys are enjoying some extraordinarily warm weather back on the East Coast.
Oh, it was nice today.
Oh yeah.
Nice.
It was so nice.
That's good.
I didn't want to leave
You guys had a lot of sunshine.
all day.
Yeah. It's a nice day.
Very nice. It was partially sunny here, the high of 30. So
30. Oh my, it was 76 today.
Was it? I thought it was 79.
It
I
may
don't
have
know.
been.
It was
I didn't look at it.
very, very
constantly,
warm,
but
so-
it was sweaty weather a little bit.
it was
the
twice.
idea of cold and snow is very remote.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the weather's changing here. I mean, it'll be up and down for the next several weeks.
Before you know it, you'll be up to 50 degrees.
Ooh.
Actually, it was 50 yesterday.
Oh, okay. Well,
Yeah, so it
I take
dropped
that back.
5. It'll be 50 again tomorrow, something like
Nice.
that. Today was just a cold day, but yeah, we've got mud season coming up. That'll be a blast.
Mhm.
Anybody, you ever heard of mud season?
Yeah, you told us about it. I don't know if that was here or privately.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When you
where
when you have an extraordinarily high amount of snow, it melts and it causes the ground to become very saturated and
Mhm.
it's very muddy. So yeah, it's that's something that really happens up here. It can be a mess. So I think this year is going to be bad.
Yeah.
So
You
I
have to get a
recommend some extra wiper blades. In,
coil over kit and some mud tires. There you go.
yeah, that's an idea.
okay.
Stay far above.
Raise it up about 6-8 inches. You'll be good.
Okay, I'll take that under advisement. All right, so we're going to talk about what we've been listening to, and I will go first. I have been listening to Nick Drake.
I'll tell you.
We discussed Nick Drake last week's episode, and I just love his music, and this is the time of the year that I would typically listen to it. So I really dug in the last few days, and we were also discussing production values on some of the records. And I commented last week that I thought that Pink Moon wasn't my favorite. It's still not my favorite, but I think I do have an extra level of appreciation for it. And I had mentioned a song that is not my favorite. I thought Which Will, but it's Place to Be. And it is a great record. There is something special about Pink Moon, and I can understand why it's held so high, in people's opinions. But I'd still think Brighter Later is my favorite. But all three of those records all have something special. And I
Yeah.
highly encourage those who have not checked him out to do so. It's good stuff. He's he was a great songwriter, and there's a lot to offer there, in my opinion. And I've been
Yeah.
listening to David Bowie's 1980 release, Scary Monsters,
Great album.
Oh yeah.
Ashes Fashion. And actually, forget what the name of my favorite song is. I'm really new to the record. I've heard the obvious stuff, but it's got some cool stuff on it. I really like
Mhm.
it. And finally, I've been listening to Sting's 1991 release, Soul Cages. Probably the most listened to Sting record for me personally. And I don't think it's rates as high with a lot of fans. I think most people are either like Nothing Like the Sun or they like 10 Sumner's Tales a lot better.
Yeah.
But I really like Soul Cages. It affected me at a certain time in my life, and I like the songs on it a lot. But I think
The songs are more complex on that album. I like them.
it's really got a lot of depth to it.
Yeah.
And,
Mhm.
the record will come up again later.
Gotcha.
So, yeah, that's what I've been listening to. How about you, Mike?
I'll not say I'm familiar with that Sting album.
Yeah,
I'll have to check it out. I can't listen to everything.
I like it.
The judgment here is just something.
It's not judging.
It's funny you said you listened to Nick Drake, because I went right back the next day and listened to all three albums again. And I'll say listening to Pink Moon just reaffirms my opinion. That's his best album. There's something about it that just seems like he got what he wanted.
Yeah.
more on that album. The other two were kind of experimental, or he was going in different directions. But for me, that sounds, in my opinion anyway, I don't know if it's true, but it sounds genuinely Nick Drake,
Yeah.
and it's just a gorgeous album. I
I,
really
I
enjoy
just
listening to it.
I do have a comment on it. I read this recently, just within the last week, that somebody, and I forget who said it, they said that it's primarily thought of that he was really depressed. And I always thought this while he was recording Pink Moon. I always thought,
Mhm.
and I did not know this, but that was recorded on October 30th and 31st, Halloween of
Oh yeah.
1971. I
Yeah.
don't know why I never picked that up. That was recorded those 2 nights. And but the record is darker, but I
Mhm.
think I disagree with the guy that he said he was not depressed during those sessions. He was really happy and very proud of Pink Moon, which he should have been proud of it. But I think if you just listen to the tone of the record and
Yeah.
the way his delivery is, it's not nearly as light as it is on the first and second record.
Well,
He
that's
was
true. Yeah.
I just don't agree with what that guy said. I think he was in a depressed mood. And I think that I read Joe Boyd, the producer, said that he was going through a really tough time when he recorded it. So I'm going to take his word for it. But
Yeah.
Yeah.
got
He
a
would know.
whole different vibe to it. But the Brighter Later is a much more buoyant record, and Five Leaves Left was his first record. I think there's an innocence to it and a happiness that I don't hear
Yeah.
on the so maybe that's why it connects with a lot of people. It's a little darker, it's a little more maybe personal, and maybe
Yeah.
they get that out of it. But it is great. There's some great songs on it. But when I looked at my playlist on Pink Moon, I thought I have just as many songs from that as I do Brighter Later, which I
Yeah.
love. So who knows?
Well, today was a Miles Davis day, and man, we've discussed it, or I've discussed it before when talking about rhythm sections. Uh, ESP, what a tremendous album! Herbie Hancock, Tony Williams, Ron Carter, and the follow up to that. I don't know if it was right after, but Miles Smiles, man, I got a big ass smile on my face when I started listening to that. It's just so groovy. I just love it. It's such a great album. And any time I come in here and I've listened to a different Miles Davis album, I'll have the same reaction because everything he does to me is just brilliant. I just love it. Elevator to the Gallows, the soundtrack. What a great movie if you haven't seen it. But that too, I listened to it. It's completely different, and it's just a tremendous album. But ESP and Miles Smiles were on today's playlist, and that's what I've been
What is
listening.
the tune of his dun 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 dun? It's the first track off one of those 2 records. What is that? Dun dun.
Oh gosh.
Mm.
Doesn't ring a bell. Okay, well,
It
everybody
rings a
will
bell, but I can't think of the name. Yeah.
It's very distinctive, but it's the
I'll
first
have to
track,
look
I
at it.
believe, off one of those 2 records. I was thinking it was ESP, but I might be wrong. It might be
Mm.
Miles Miles, but those are like 57, 58. Were those prior to
Um,
Kinda Blue?
no,
Aren't they?
ESP was like 65, I think.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Later.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So maybe okay. Miles Miles, was it before Kinda Blue?
That, um,
Okay,
that
we
was
won't
after.
get into
That was after. Yeah.
okay. I totally turned around. Okay. All right. So that was mid-60s. But they had
Yeah.
Herbie Hancock, and that was the
Yeah.
60s era.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Herbie on
Okay.
piano. Amazing.
Ron Carter? Ron
Ron
Carter?
Carter
Carter.
and
Yeah.
Tony Williams.
Cool. All right, man. Awesome. Love Miles. How about
Oh,
you,
yeah.
Grant?
Well, since you brought up Nick Drake again, I have not been listening to Nick Drake.
Is he somebody that you've ever connected with? Is it
Oh
something
yes, for
that
sure,
you
for
like?
sure.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Okay.
That's one of those artists like I mentioned previously that it can help you out of your mood, or it can pull you down into a
Yeah.
worse mood, but
Right.
I digress. Yes, I have been listening to Miles, Four and More, and My Funny Valentine, which were actually the same show. It was recorded and they split it because obviously My Funny Valentine are the slower songs and the more romantic songs, and the Four and More are the hitters. But yeah, and Thelonious Monk plays Duke Ellington. It's a great album.
Yeah.
Great album with Kenny Clark on drums. Trying to think, nothing, because in the real world, it's only been a few days since we
Right.
previously got together. But not a whole lot. I know specifically that several spins, as they say, but nothing specific other than those.
Well, all right. Well, this week we're going to talk about our favorite drummers, and we're going to give examples of why those drummers connected with us. And Grant suggested this, and I thought this was a good one. I'm going to start, and I think that there will be at least one drummer here that I think will be. I've never mentioned him, but these are, and I want to say this at the outset, that not being a drummer, I'm going to have a different list than you guys, and I'm going to give the reason why I really connected with this drummer, and these are going to be in the order of which I remember hearing them. So the first one is Alex Van Halen. A lot of people might think it would be Peter Criss for me. And Peter had some moments that were great, but it was clear to me, even as a non-drummer and as a young musician, there was something little different about his tone. It never appealed to me. Even as a really young person, I always felt like his snare was weird. And I know that you said Alex's snare. I guess both of you have said that there was something odd about it. I can't hear that, which
one of my
surprises me.
favorites. Yeah.
Yeah. But Out of Love Again off Van Halen 2 was probably the track. And Van Halen 1 was the first one that I heard. But I think Out of Love Again was the first track that really made me attracted to him as a drummer. And there's all great, but I love his style. It was loose, but yet it was in the pocket, and it propelled the song. And there's obviously that communication between him and his brother was just as clear that it's there. And I've always been a fan of his, and I just always never felt like anything he did detracted from the song. It always felt good to me. And to me, that is paramount. How it feels. I cannot erase that from my estimation or how I measure an artist. It's got to make me feel good. And if it doesn't make me feel good, I don't care how somebody else defends it and says that's fantastic. I do not care.
Yeah, and if the drummer's overplaying, it really detracts from the whole song,
Yeah, so these all are going to be ones that I just can, and especially the last one. I'm curious of what you guys think, but I think that you will have good things to say. But I am curious of what your thoughts are. But yeah, my first choice is Alex, and Out of Love Again is the example that I'm giving why I connected with him.
Yeah, great
That's
track.
Alex Van Halen is, I've said it before, is one of those. As a drummer, I think is great. His drum sound. I had to let it grow on me because I loved Van Halen, but that sound was just so funky, especially that big tonk of a snare drum.
I love the snare from the first time I heard it. It's like, oh, that's great.
Yeah, but you listen to it again, you're like, oh, I know that drummer.
Yeah,
that's his signature, and his. I think his sound. I won't say added, but his sound was perfect for his style within the song. If it were anything else, it might not have stood out. But Alex Van Halen certainly. What am I trying to say? Alex Van Halen certainly stands out with a certain signature sound and style that is, it's nothing but admirable.
Mm-hmm.
It always felt good.
Yeah.
Before you continue, let me take a sidebar. Sorry.
Sure.
Did you hear the rumor, Jamie, that Alex is working with your buddy Steve Lukather on possibly resurrecting unheard Van Halen music?
No.
Oh, I have not heard that. But
I saw 2 articles today, and they're not sure if they're going to reach out to Dave for possible vocals and try to make it basically really Van Halen or not. So I don't know what's going to happen. But that's the 2 sites I saw had that, and I don't know if it's true or not. But it's in the rumor mill.
I love Steve Lukather. He is my all-time
Mhm.
favorite guitar
Yeah,
player.
that's what I was going to mention. If anybody mentioned Alex, I was going to bring that up. So
Yeah.
I hope that does not happen. I don't want that to happen. I don't think
Oh, really?
I don't want anything to tarnish what
yeah,
is could be great, it could not be great. I love Steve
Mm.
Lukather, and he has my total respect, but I don't want them to try to do that.
yeah. I don't know if he's going to play on it or if he's just
Yeah.
sifting through the music,
Oh, yeah, if
and
he's an
trying
extra
to
set
put
of
songs
ears.
together. Yeah,
Oh, that's something different. Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
I'm all for that. Yeah, he's got
yeah,
phenomenal ears and taste, so I'm okay with that. Yeah,
yeah,
I hope that he's not gonna play. There are other guitar players that would fit better in for
hmm
that,
yeah,
but I don't even think Alex would do that anyway. But,
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
but I
I mean,
think that what
they're
you're saying that with Dave, of his involvement, they would probably take tracks that weren't completed, and he would have to write lyrics and sing over these
yeah,
tracks that weren't re
yeah,
so that's probably what that means. I'm
yeah.
Yeah.
guessing, but,
But anyway, sorry.
That would be
yeah.
interesting.
Yeah,
But
Yeah, yeah, I'm sure there's some great unused things there that are probably high
hmm
quality, so that might be interesting.
yeah.
I'm having some audio issues, so hopefully this I don't know what this is gonna ultimately sound like. I can hear some funny stuff going on in my headphones, so my apologies to you guys out there if it's not sounding good, so when you
Yeah.
hear this. So, does it sound okay to you guys?
Yeah. It sounds
yeah.
okay. You're a little
Still a little glitchy, but
glitchy with the video, but it's
voice is coming through pretty
yeah,
clear.
it's fine.
Okay, alright.
Yeah.
Well,
Continue,
yeah,
Michael.
alright.
Okay. So as a young lad, we've talked about this before. When you're a drummer, you want to hear something exciting, and pop and rock is pretty straightforward. So you go to the jazz drummers, and my mom introduced me to Cozy Cole with Topsy Part 2, and it's from the late 50s. Cozy Cole is probably not as well, certainly not as well known as he was then, but a tremendous drummer. And the solo on Topsy Part 2, I tried to mimic, when I was really young. Um, and once we started this podcast, I think I've mentioned this. I was, we talked about him once before, and I went back and listened, and I was really surprised. I'm like, oh my gosh, I have copped so much
Mhm.
from Cozy Cole. I
Yeah.
play that little thing he does right there. I play that all the time. So he's been a big influence on me, and tremendous drummer. I think I've said that already. He's got his own style, very not really fast and flashy, but he's got those rim shots, and the way he modulates between the cymbals and the drums when he's doing the solos. It's just really exciting for me. Maybe it's just nostalgia, but I really like Cozy Cole. He's going to be on my top 5
Nice.
list.
I think I've heard Ginger Baker mention him
Yeah,
before.
probably. Yeah.
Possibly, yeah.
Maybe. I know that I've heard a big name from back in the day talk about him, how he was an influence.
Yeah.
So that's cool. Great.
Nice. All right. Well, I picked drummers that I haven't really talked about before, and some of my favorite
We had a feeling this was gonna happen. Yeah.
drummers that aren't well known to the mass populace.
Yeah, we knew this was gonna happen. That's awesome.
All righty. My first one is Gavin Harrison. I've mentioned him before in passing. Plays with the band Porcupine Tree, Pineapple Thief. Let's see who else. A couple other independent small bands, but he's more well known for Porcupine Tree. And the example I'm citing is he does a cover with a live band at Zildjian's 400th anniversary UK special, and it's a cover of Average White Band's "Pick Up the Pieces,"
Oh yeah.
and he does it
Steve Peroni on the original.
exactly, and he galvanizes it, as they say, and his style is so unique compared to what a lot of drummers are doing. I have
Yeah.
I've probably mentioned this before in earlier podcasts in passing that a lot of drummers just sound like the same. They're playing the same kind of chops, and
Right.
it's fast and it's furious, and yeah, it's cool for about 2.5 minutes, and you're like, okay, here we are now. Entertain us. Quit playing all that mess. But Yeah, Gavin is just modulates the time, uh, does feels that you don't see coming. You know, even experienced drummers listen and go, in a million years, there's no way I would have ever thought he was going to play that. And that's really
Very cool.
something to say
Yeah.
nowadays. It's like hearing a shredder play something and like, how did he even think about that? You know?
Right.
But yeah, it's all the examples I have are on YouTube if you want to go check them out. But yeah, his cover of "Pick Up the Pieces" by Average White Band from the Zildjian 400th, it's
Cool.
pretty dang amazing.
The
Nice.
400th
100th
anniversary.
of Zildjian cymbals.
Is there another business still around that can celebrate their 400th anniversary?
I don't know.
That's impressive. But
The wagon wheel guy.
you don't find Gavin too cerebral in his drumming?
Not, I would say for the most part, for the 95%, no. Sometimes it's a little like the stuff he does with Pineapple Thief, and I wish I could remember the other little band. Not little, dissing. I'm just saying it's small, unknown. That kind of stuff is like when he played with King Crimson. He and Bill Riplin and Pat Mastelletto were the three drummers at one time. Now that's very cerebral stuff, and you know they're thinking it out, and it's more thought than feel, I guess. While they try to keep some feel in there. Yeah. But I think his playing with Porcupine Tree he's kind of like Neil in the fact that Neil from Rush didn't want you to know it was an odd time signature. He wanted you to keep feeling like there's the beat. It's not something crazy like Mahavishnu or something where they're trying to confuse you and, you know, playing in 33-18 or something. It's not, you know, they want you to keep bobbing your head to the you know, where there's a solo or the bridge or whatever, even if it's in some, you know, 9/4, you know, 17-13, whatever. They want you to keep the beat. And Neil said that specifically. You know, you want to still have the song have to feel good. But I think for the most part, I don't think Gavin is too cerebral. Yeah, I mean, he is a very cerebral guy, and you can hear it in his playing because.
Well, that's what I pick up on. You know, for me, I get it, but it doesn't really move me. But there's no denying his creativity, like you said, pulling something out and like, what was that? How'd you get there? Yeah, his talent and his creativity is pretty impressive.
Mm-hmm. Just you talking about 33-18, it made me think about something. No. Somebody at work the other night was saying something. It's like, I had a bongo, and I go, "You had a bongo?" And I riffed on that for about 10 minutes. I was like, "You had a bongo?" And I thought I'm gonna have a T-shirt called "You Had a Bongo." So the funny, I don't know. That's how my mind works. So I thought you could have a T-shirt that says I play in 33-18.
33-18.
I'm still trying to do the math on that. 33-18.
Yeah, that was just a crazy example. You know what I'm talking about.
All right. My second choice is gonna be Mr. Neil Peart. Not Neil Peart, but Neil Peart. And this choice is not maybe an obvious one at all. And
is he a local guy?
Yeah, he is local.
Who is that?
He's Canadian, eh?
Oh, okay.
He was from St. Catharines, Ontario, man.
Don't you know?
The track that I had heard two prior albums before this track that I loved, but it was the live record Exit Stage Left that really made me connected with him. And it's not any track that I think you guys would have thought it would be. But for me, it's Passage to Bangkok. I love the live version. That's my favorite version of that song.
Yeah, that's the best version. Yeah.
To me, it's the best solo that Alex plays on any recording that I'm aware of. But there's just something, a way Neil attacks the drums, and I love the way it's recorded and produced. I love the sound of it, and it connected me with that. That's been my all-time favorite track on that record since I heard it for the first time. For whatever reason, you know, I just love everything about it. But and there's some amazing performances on that record. But Passage to Bangkok really, maybe it's the percussion partly, but it's also that it's in 5. There was something just different about it that it just made me attracted to it. And but I it's Neil and it's Passage to Bangkok. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
That's a great song. There's a lot going on in that.
yeah.
And it's still, a lot to digest, but a lot to just sit back and listen to, even though it's
And
in
it's
five.
still
It's still,
groove, man.
yeah.
That's
Just
what I was
groove.
saying.
Yeah. Yeah, it feels good. It makes
Yeah.
me feel good. If it was just odd and it was just, cerebral, I could care less. It feels good.
Mhm.
I like everything about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember hearing that. I heard the Exit Stage Left version first,
Okay.
and then heard the album version. And the album it sounds so, for lack of a better, anemic compared to the
Yeah.
fullness of the guitar sound and the drum sounds on the Exit Stage Left.
Yeah, I know that Exit Stage Left has gotten a lot of criticism through the years for being sort of sterile sounding, but I don't think so.
I
think it
don't
sounds
hear that at
fantastic.
all. Yeah.
Yeah.
I am having some audio issues, guys. Can you hear any difference? I'm having some audio problems.
Yeah. It's very minute here. It's very,
I'm
yeah.
going to change headphones, so my apologies to you folks out there. So I don't know if that's what it is, but we're going to change these.
Okay.
You
Talk
go ahead and
amongst
continue.
yourselves.
Yeah, continue.
Let me take a little swig here.
Take a little swig of your vodka.
I got one of those crinkle bottles so we can do some what is it? ASMR?
ASMR.
Later? Yeah.
Let me drink my water here.
My next choice is going to be another jazz drummer who impressed the hecky darn out of me.
Hecky darn.
The hecky darn.
That's serious business. Listen, let's
Compound word.
calm down, everybody. Calm
Louis
down.
Bellson was an amazing drummer. Louis Bellson, the first drummer to popularize the double bass. When he was 15, I believe, he decided to put another bass drum in his set. And
All right,
the
I'm
rest
back.
is history. Louis Bellson is just such an amazing drummer, partner musician, and teacher. Whether he was playing his crazy solos or playing along with the swing, the big band groups that he played with. Tremendous artist. And what stands out to me when I think of Louis Bellson, if you listen to his recordings in the early 50s, and he has his drum solo, and it's outstanding then. But you listen to his drum solo in 1978 on whatever record it was I had at the time. I don't remember what it is. There's a progression. It's like a totally different drummer. You can hear certain signatures in there that he does, but he's expanded his palette, I guess you could say. He's totally changed his drum solo, and you can tell he's evolved, he's learned, and he's become a better drummer. And that I just appreciate that so much, because a lot of big band drummers and even regular jazz drummers that you listen to, they have a style. That's a style. When they go to solo, that's what they play.
That was disappointing to me. That I love Neil, but that he never really changed it a ton. Once he settled in, he only added a few things here and there. And I wish in the last 5 years of Rush, I wish he had just redone a whole solo and rewritten a whole solo. And same for Alex Van Halen, because he's been playing the same solos for 30 years.
Yeah,
and it's to a track of Cuban, Caribbean style music, percussion, and everything that he plays along to. And he does a couple little different things depending on his mood, but it is a track that he plays along to. Yeah. And it's I was, when we saw them back in was it 2012? The last tour they did with Dave and Wolfgang played bass. I was hoping it was a new solo, for the new Van Halen, but it was the same. I mean, it was cool, but I was like, oh man, I just wish, same thing for Neil. I just wish he'd have changed it up there,
Yeah. But so many drummers have
of course. Yeah.
Have a set routine, and they're like, okay, I'm comfortable with this. I can, do this and that with it, but here's where I'm staying.
Yeah.
But Louis Bellson, man, so spectacular. Just listening to those solos so far apart, and he's just evolved and
he played pretty much into his older age too.
Yeah. He was not a young person when he
I
think he died at, I want to say 76,
Something.
84, somewhere between there.
Yeah.
That's a pretty wide range. But anyway, Louis Bellson, tremendous artist, tremendous innovator, tremendous musician, and
really brought the drums to the front. You know,
Yeah.
one of the first ones that really
A great
was-
educator.
yeah, and featured
I
drummer.
have, I have Louis Bellson, a couple of books of his that are for sight reading, and Odd Meter. It's just a great teacher. So
Mhm.
I just wanted to say something that maybe I've never heard you guys talk about. And this was just an outside view looking in, possibly. It'd be interesting what you guys think about this. Talking about Alex playing the same solo. I think there's a lot of Eddie Van Halen essentially played the same thing
Yeah.
the last several years. There could be this one reason why, and I'm curious of what other people would think. It could be that they really weren't interested in doing it anymore, but it was just expected, and they
Yeah,
had to. They weren't inspired to totally create something new, but they wanted to fulfill people's expectations. But they
with a
were
rock
trying,
show, it's expected.
yeah. And I wonder if it just got to there is that part where you're like, well, I really don't want to do this, but I'm going to do the best I can with the framework that's expected of me. And I will just do what I can, but I'm not inspired to do this. And that could be why you have somebody who they're not really that interested in just totally moving everything forward, you know?
Yeah.
That's what occurred to me when you were talking about Alex doing
Yeah.
essentially the same solo. And I thought, well, Ed did the same thing.
Well,
you know?
at least and also in their defense of, I've heard plenty of drummers who don't have a structured solo, and plenty of guitarists who don't have a structured solo, and it's boring.
True.
It's they're just, for lack of a better term, they're just wanking around, and I'm like,
Noise.
okay, this is pointless. It doesn't go anywhere. It doesn't do anything. It's just noise, you know.
Yeah, that's when you feel like you're looking at your watch, going, "You guys can stop anytime."
Yeah.
Well,
this isn't doing it for us.
I've always tried to not be too much of a critic on this podcast, and I really do want to, be uplifting and stay as positive as I can. But somebody who disappointed me and has disappointed me greatly, and I hate to say this because this person influenced me so much as a young musician, and that's Ace Frehley.
Yeah.
Some of the absolutely worst guitar solos, at least for a musician. Maybe for the non-musician, it's entertaining. But I've seen several, and I've said this many times. I'm always pulling for the guy, and I was always pulling for him and wanting him to do something great. And occasionally he would pull it out. But boy, there was a bunch of garbage played, and even when he was trying to do something kind of cool, I was like, ugh, just not good, it's either good or it's not. But it's expected of him. So it makes you wonder. I don't think people ever talk about that. You never hear an artist, or musician say, well, I really don't want to do that. I never have wanted to do it for the last 20 years, but it's expected of me. So I'm just going to do the best I can. And some nights I'm really not inspired to do anything. You don't ever hear anybody talk about that, but that may be the reality of it, so you just get what you get. So anyway, that's my 2 cents.
All righty.
All right, Grant.
What's your 2 cents, Grant?
My 2 cents, and my next choice is a guy named of Benny Greb. And if you're not familiar with Benny Greb and his drumming, you should check him out. And specifically, the example I'm using is a song called Soul Food from the Benny Greb Brass Band project that he did. And it's a brass band and him on the drums. And it's not what you're thinking. It's not your typical brass band drumming or brass band sounding. It's some very beautiful brass band music, but he chose purposefully not to. He's not trying to sound like a Dixieland band or New Orleans brass band or anything that you're typically thinking of, or jazz brass band. It's very cool, very deep, and very interesting music with very rhythmic and amazing drumming. So if you're not familiar with that Benny Greb and Benny Greb Brass Band, that's just one of the projects he's done. He's done tons of stuff. He's been around for a long time now. But and I forget where he's from. He's from somewhere in Europe. I don't want to say. I want to
Croatia.
say it's a Nordic country or
Oh.
somewhere Chile. I think I could be wrong. I'm thinking maybe Norway or Finland, but I could be wrong. Sorry, I should have known that, but I don't. But yeah, he's been around a long time, and he's a fantastic. He can groove it out, he can jazz it out, he can rock it out. Just there's so many of these people that were never in big bands, and that's why you don't know who they are or the math.
Does he play the bongo?
I'm not sure. He may have dabbled in the bongoness, but
the singular.
Yeah.
Just one.
but I'm
That's
not
a good
sure.
T-shirt, Grant. I dabble in the bongoness. I love it.
I
But,
know that name. I just can't put a face to it right now. So
Yeah, well,
I'll have to look it up.
you should check it out, man.
Definitely.
It's especially if you're a drummer.
No, I'll
Okay.
look it up anyway.
My third choice is going to be a band that I bought this record, which was their second major release studio record, based on the album cover, which I think happened a lot back when we were younger. Back in the day, it happened a lot more maybe than it does now.
Was it a Friends Rosetta cover?
No, it wasn't. It was a Derek Riggs cover.
Okay,
You know who he is?
I've heard the name. Once you say the album, I will know.
You will know in a moment. This drummer, I think, had a really great feel. His successor, I never thought had the same feel that he did. This gentleman's name is Clive Burr for Iron Maiden, and the song is "Number of the Beast." It's got an interesting offbeat, and I just think it's a great. It's I think it's one of the best metal records ever, or hard rock records.
Classic.
I never loved the production on it. It's a bit dark, but the songs are tremendous. The performances are tremendous. And I think Clive Burr just had such a great feel.
He did. Nico had a different feel,
And Nico's performance on the next record, Peace of Mind, was fantastic. And that was my favorite performance by him. And he played his butt off, but Clive had something that was just a little bit more approachable for me, and I think he really complimented the songs. And he's one of my favorite hard rock / metal drummers. It always felt right to me. It just never felt like he was playing something, and he had chops. But it just sounded like it just always sounded like he was in control and he in command. I never felt like he was struggling, and it just always felt great. And I always thought it sounded phenomenal. So he made a big impression on me as a young man. And I love what he did in that band. I don't think he gets enough credit. He was really, really good.
He was.
So that's my third choice.
Great choice.
The next guy I want to talk about is the lead soloist for The Police.
Yes.
If you think about it, that's true. Tremendous. How many times in this podcast can I say tremendous? I hope everybody's marking off their bingo card.
Tremendous.
But Stewart Copeland he's just amazing, man. I've copped his feel. I said
Pause.
many times. When I was writing, I've said it before, when I was writing that soundtrack for our friend's short film, it was all about Stewart Copeland and Babatunde Olatunji's latest album at the time. Those two together, I just, the music was really easy to write for me. But I have a connection with Stewart Copeland. I like the feel of what he plays, what he leaves out. He's always got that tension. He knows, when to jump in and when to just simmer. And even the music he writes, the soundtrack to Rumblefish, to The Equalizer, his Rhythm Assist album from his travels in Africa and his later ballets and orchestrations. He's just a great all-around artist. But his drumming is just so powerful. And on the edge, it's tremendous. Did I say that? I think I did.
The password is tremendous.
Yes.
I have so many great things to say about Stewart Copeland, and I've said this before. when we were younger, it was not a style or a person that I was attracted to. I didn't realize how much I really, really liked him until later. And you just, it's, it's just incalculable how important he was to the police. I
Yeah.
mean,
Oh,
it
yeah.
was it had to be there, and it just wonderful. But the fact that he, after the band uh finished, he he learned how to read and write music and to score, and
Mhm.
pushed himself into a whole nother field, sort of. And I just respect that so much. You've already achieved all this, but I want to keep growing. I
Yeah.
want to keep pushing myself. And yeah, I'm not going to get paid nearly what I used to get paid, but it's being a musician.
Mhm.
You've got to feed your music soul. And he is always trying to just be the best that he can. And he's got a fantastic sense of humor. He's still a great drummer. I
Yeah.
don't know that he's lost anything. Every time I've seen him play live, he's just in control.
Yeah. Well,
And he's
I don't think
so
he's lost
good.
anything either. Yeah.
Doesn't sound like it. He just is so good.
Yeah.
I just really, really like his style, and I appreciate it more now than I ever have. So I'm a huge fan of his.
Yeah.
Well, like you said, he's got a great sense of humor. I think that informs
Yeah.
his playing, also his background, living in the Middle East and
Yeah.
England, and then here he has an eclectic and exotic voice on the drums, and I think that's what attracts me. That it's so
Yeah.
unusual.
Yeah. It was on the back in the day, he didn't sound like anyone else, and the police didn't obviously, but his drumming definitely where he chose to put the bass drum, rim clicks, and how his hi-hat work. Obviously he's well known for that, but I'm hard pressed to he may have been probably, I know he was one of the first drummers that actually, before I even played drums, caught my ear. And I can remember being in 7th grade. I think it was Mr. Henny's history class, and talking to somebody about how different the police sounded, and we were trying to figure out why. And I distinctly remember saying, "Well, that drummer doesn't sound like Foreigner, or doesn't sound like the Cars, or doesn't sound like the bands at the time."
Right.
And
Oh man, the Cars. Let me write that down.
David Robinson.
David Robinson, tremendous. I love him.
But Stewart was definitely, and when I started playing drums, I had 3 or 4 drummers. Obviously, I talked about Neil before being a big influence, but Stewart, obviously, and Alex, and
Right.
but yeah, Stewart definitely. It's so far back. It's the general chronological order is hard to tell, of who I heard first, but he was definitely one of the ones I heard first, and noticed, oh, what's that? What's happening here? It's not the usual thing. So yeah, Stewart,
Um,
you can't say anymore.
well, as it turns out, Mr. Stewart Copeland's my 4th choice.
Well, you're skipping me.
Oh no, I'm sorry. I
That's
thought
all right.
you're riffing on.
I was just riffing on Stewart. No worries, man. No
My
worries.
apologies.
Little elaboration there.
No worries. Yeah. Well, he's such a
Yeah.
big, larger than life dude.
He is a big personality, isn't he?
Yes, he is. we can't stop talking about you, Stewart.
Yeah.
My next choice is the current drummer for the band Styx.
Todd Zuckerman.
Yes, Todd Zuckerman.
Great drummer.
And great drummer. And the example I'm using is not Styx, because nothing wrong with Styx. I love Styx. I loved when I was a kid, and John Panozzo was a great drummer.
Oh, he was.
For
He
Styx.
really was.
Yeah, he played unique stuff too. I mean, he
Yeah.
just didn't play regular stuff.
Yeah.
But the example here is a song called "Tears of Joy" that Todd recorded for one of his instructional DVDs, Methods and Mechanics, and it's a song by Jerry Goodman, the violinist from Mahavishnu Orchestra.
Yeah.
And it's in some crazy 33/18 time or whatever, but it's the playing it's very subtle until it's not.
Right.
It's a lot of prog is like that, But and even the subtle stuff is like, if you're not a drummer, it's not really. But if you are a musician, you're like, oh, he's doing something over here,
Mm.
And but yeah, his he can play jazz, he can play prog, he plays all kind of stuff, and he's got some cool stories about just being a drummer. And he played drums as a kid. His father was a drummer,
Right.
um, and a good story about how he uh, opened up for somebody big in an arena, and then went back to playing little weddings and hotels, and was like, am I ever gonna
Right.
do, be anything or whatever? And then Styx found out about him, and boom, he's playing in a major touring band. And
Yeah.
but yeah,
I think
he
one of the things I like about him is that I think he's a good dude. I've
yeah.
seen plenty of interviews with him, and he's has as much passion for the drums and music as any musician that comes to mind.
Mhm.
He loves music, and he is a student of the drums, and he wants to be the absolutely best musician he can. He is serious about sound. He just recently switched back to
Yeah,
Sonar
back to
from,
Sonar, yeah.
Yeah.
and
Mhm.
he just is serious about his art. And I don't know anybody cannot respect that.
Yeah,
I'm a
also on
fan.
that
Yeah.
yeah, also on that DVD, there's a massive cover of Manic Depression that he just
Makes
goes
sense.
off on. But yeah, it's probably on
Yeah.
YouTube as well. But the Tears of Joy
Yeah.
is just so different. I wanted to use that as an
Yeah.
example because it's a really cool piece of music, and it's got highs and lows and louds and softs, which just shows the whole range of
Yeah.
motion.
Yeah. He's got
Very
the
good.
control of the dynamics. He's very precise. He's very articulate, and he makes it look so easy
Mhm.
Yeah.
every time he plays, and just rattles off the perfect fill and back into his groove. Yeah, he's. I didn't know about him until I think you brought him to my attention, and as soon as I found out he was playing for Styx soon after, and I think he really adds something to
Mhm.
Styx
Yeah.
live performances. What a great drummer! Yeah,
Well, I was a big fan of John Panozzo, and I
yeah,
really think he did some really cool
Yeah, he
parts.
did.
Yeah, he
Mhm.
was not your average drummer for that era,
Yeah.
and
yeah,
and his parts felt good.
Mhm.
To me, as not a drummer, I've always felt like they were not distracting. They felt great.
Yeah.
And but when uh, John's health, took him away, and they had to hire Todd whenever the band
Yeah.
got back together for their in '96 for that
Mhm.
tour, Return to Paradise tour. The video for that show that was recorded, I think, at Roseland in Chicago. That's still one of my favorite
Yeah.
performances. Is he was pumped up, he was excited to be a part of the band, and he just really did phenomenal, and he played his butt off.
Yeah.
It's always great to see somebody having fun doing what they
Oh, yeah.
love,
yeah, yeah,
and he loves doing what he's. You can tell he's having fun, and that's just awesome. I think that's as important. And he's 55 ish,
Yeah.
and he just loves playing drums, and he's always having fun, and he is a great drummer. I
Mhm.
echo your choice. He is great. And well, I'm going to give you guys a big surprise. My fourth choice. It is Stewart Copeland. Imagine that. Yeah.
let's
Um.
talk about that.
Yeah. Let's talk about Stewart.
We've not talked about this, have we? Have we discussed this?
I hear he's
Uh,
tremendous.
I think he's pretty good. Well, the
He's
song that
good.
I'm gonna choose is probably a song that you guys probably go, huh? Um, I can't remember. I will say that honestly, I don't remember really paying attention to the Police until Zenyatta Madada came out. I don't
Mm.
remember hearing Roxanne or anything off the first two records on the
Wow.
radio. Not being a radio guy, I don't remember hearing anything. I saw a video for da do 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 da 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 da,
Yeah.
and immediately thought, "Oh my boy, this is great. This is great songwriting." And then "Don't Stand So Close to Me" came out shortly, maybe before. I don't remember, but da do do da do da 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 was the first one that I remember hearing, and and I just his drum sound is so unique, And but the next record a lot of people would say Spirits of Material World is probably his finest one of his finest moments. And it is. It's a great performance. He even says that's the most difficult police
Yeah.
song to play. But the one that really connected with me for whatever reason, I still think it's just beautiful, is Wrapped Around Your Finger. And it's not a dramatic
Oh.
performance. It's not a song that people would say, well, there's not that much in it, but it's just so beautiful how it's
Oh, yeah.
orchestrated to me.
Yeah.
I love how he performs it. It's with subtlety and it's but it's like gentle purposefulness.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
just doesn't sound like it's just to serve the song. And I think that's the other thing that's the part of the brilliance of Stewart Copeland is it served the song. Wasn't just about him doing something. Yeah, he was trying to please himself, but it was always in service of the song. And there's not enough drummers that
Yeah.
were doing that, in my opinion.
That's like that Billy Cobham song I was telling you about a couple times ago. That Heather song where it's just so subtle. It's almost like,
Yeah.
is he drumming? You know, yeah, same kind of, because it doesn't, Wrapped Around Your Finger doesn't really open up till the end, basically, you know.
And that's maybe the part of the thing that really connected with me. And it's only whenever the part that comes in toward the end where the bass line really just moved me completely.
Mm-hmm.
It just like you're listening to 3/4 of the song and you're like, well, this is what it is. And then that last part, it really just like, here we go. And I love it. It really is a moment that really connected with me. And I remember being indifferent. I never disliked them, but I can remember driving when we were in high school, listening to that song on a Sunday afternoon and going, okay, I get it.
Mm-hmm.
They are that great because you heard about it from everybody. This is the best band in the world. They're on top. They're everywhere. I couldn't have cared less, I thought. But when I heard that song, of all the songs on that record, there's so many great songs on that record, that was a song that really made me understand, okay, I get it. This is not beat you over the head with what I've got. You have to pay attention, but it's there. It's just, just think it's excellent.
Yeah. And a lot of what's in that song too is from the best cymbal brand in the world, Peisty, has all the little bells and little things. And, you know, Stewart had put a lot of that stuff into that song, and also T and Sarah. But, you know, that atmosphere, it added so much to that atmosphere. Yeah.
Well, you know, King of Pain was the first track. That was the track on that record that was my favorite for a long time. And I still think it's a phenomenal song.
Mm-hmm.
But for whatever reason, the drumming on Wrapped Around Your Finger just always really moved me. You know, it's emotional to me. That is an emotional song, but I really think the drumming on it is just beautiful how he played it. That's the only way I can describe it.
I remember hearing that, and when a regular drum part, whenever you hear a lick or a little thing, you expect a cymbal crash,
right?
You know, and he's playing the rim click and the subtle hi hat, and you know the toms just come in, and there's no cymbal afterwards,
right?
And it would have ruined it if there'd have been a cymbal crash or a china or something like that. It would have just taken away the feel of just you hear that drum and then it just goes away, you know?
Right.
But he had such a for fitting the song, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I love it.
All right. Well, maybe unexpected for me, but when we say a song's got to swing, it's got to have that groove, it's got to feel right. That's the first. It's got to have bongo. Well, that's
bongo-ness.
Maybe that's an optional. But you know, it's got to be solid, and that's the drummer's job for most music. And Stan Lynch is my next choice. Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers. There's just something about his playing. You know, there's plenty of drummers out there who are solid 4 on the floor. You think of Ringo Starr, Charlie Watts, Bonnie Carlos is a big influence, but Stan Lynch was just so solid, man.
Yeah.
He put the groove on everything he played. And there's not one song I can use as an example because everything he played was just perfect.
Stop dragging my heart around.
Even the Losers
Any
to
of
me
them.
has
Yeah.
such a great. Those drum parts are so perfect. And he comes down with
And
that quad
felt
feel and
great.
hits the ride cymbal.
Yeah.
Yes, so good.
That's that thing about what he did. Everything felt great.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was one of the records I got from Columbia Records and Tapes when I was trying to be a drummer, and I was okay. What albums do I want to start playing drums to? And that was one of them.
Yeah.
Refugee was the first thing I remember hearing. Really paying attention to Tom Petty, but really it was Stop Dragging Your Heart Around that made the biggest impact on me. And it's still one of my favorite performances of his. And I love the song. It's one of my favorite Tom Petty and Stevie Nicks songs. But
and
I
that
love the
fill,
drumming on it.
Yeah, that fill in the middle of that song where
Yeah.
it's just the drums is doom doom ting ting. It's like
Yeah,
there's hardly anything there, but it's so
perfect. Yeah.
Oh man, I love it, man. It's so
Yeah.
great. It's just a
Yep.
beautiful part. And he's an amazing drummer.
And just
Stanley.
musician. He's been a
Yeah.
really successful songwriter and producer.
Yeah, he got
Yeah.
into that after, unfortunately, Tom Petty, God rest your soul, got the Santana virus
Yeah.
where he fires his drummers and gets rid of great drummers. And that was, I remember reading an interview with Stan talking about they recorded the drums to Don't Come Around Here No More. And then he basically never heard from Tom Petty again.
Well, he was with him for another record though.
I'm not sure if that was Ferroni, because they hired Ferroni after that.
No. The Southern Accents record was Don't Come Around Here No More. But they did the next record that had Let Me Up, I've Had Enough, that had Jamming Me on it. That was 86. So he was with him. He was with him for at least a couple more years. I think what happened was that he left the band in 93 whenever they did Mary Jane's Last Dance. That was his last performance with the band.
Oh, that's what I was talking about. Sorry, not that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, Mary Jane's Last Dance, and he basically said he left the studio and then he never heard from Tom again. Management said, "Here, your pink slip."
Well, they were having some conflicts personality wise. I've seen the documentary where they were having personal problems, but yeah, I mean, he was a great addition to that band, and I'm glad that Mike Campbell and Stan have a wonderful relationship.
Yeah,
they love each other as people and band members, and they recognize. Everybody knows how great Stan Lynch was. He was great, and Steve Ferroni is a great drummer, but it didn't feel the same to me.
Yeah,
There's
exactly.
forwardness for not being a drummer. I just have to say there's a forwardness to Steve Ferroni's style, how it sounds to me, and Stan was like, it was behind.
Yeah, Stan's more laid back. Well, Steve comes from funk, and he comes from that background, so he's on the beat. He's on top the beat. He's driving that music forward. I love Steve Ferroni's playing on.
It's great.
Duran Duran's Notorious too, and I wish I was like, why don't he join Duran Duran? It's back then because it was such a good fit, with that R&B pop feel.
Not as attracted to that pulse, for lack of a better word.
Gotcha.
I just like the way it feels when I guess everybody feels that way, maybe when it's a little behind, but it just still there. And Stan he was as good as anybody that I can remember. Yeah. He just, everything he did played felt great to me. One of my favorites.
All righty, mine too. Thank you, Michael, because I didn't mention him. All right, number 4 for me is a little known cat named Nate Smith.
Oh yeah.
If you're not familiar with Nate Smith, check out a song called Skip Step from the Montreal Jazz Festival from 2023. It's on YouTube. Like I said, all these examples are on YouTube. And I can't remember who plays bass and guitar on this track, but it's pretty phenomenal. And Nate is his command of time is unnatural in the way that you will listen. He's got a thing called, what is it? It's not pocket change. I can't remember what it is anyway. He's got these whole little semi-solo songs where he drifts in and out of the pocket, and you think he's playing something totally crazy. But if you start tapping time with him when he starts the song, and if you can keep tapping in time, he falls right back in line. And you think, how in the world did he get so far out playing but yet in his mind know where to come exactly right back. It's insane. But but yeah, his playing is he's just one of the most phenomenal drummers. He's done some stuff with Vulpec and um, just insane. And not in a chops kind of, even though he's got the chops, more in a pocket and more in a rhythm way, and doing stuff again that nobody was doing. Now other drummers are copying him. And
wow,
yeah,
yeah,
he does have such an original voice.
Yes,
the things he does is like, and when you're talking about him counting time with odd time signatures, he's just so impressive.
Yeah, and he most of the time he's just bass drum, snare, and a floor tom.
Yeah.
And a couple cymbals and a hi-hat, and maybe a side snare or something like that, or a percussive cymbal. But it's not like he's out here with a 10-piece kit doing all the stuff that, like I say, everybody else is playing. He's playing the antithesis of that, but it's more amazing. It's more amazing than somebody just
Right.
It's like okay, but to hear what he's doing, these little subtle little things, like how is he doing that?
Yeah,
it's insane. How would he even come up with that? It's crazy. But yeah, he's phenomenal.
Nate Smith.
Nate Smith. Yeah, check it out. And the
very,
song,
very dynamic too.
Song's called Skip. He does on that same. I think Victor Wooten and Corey Wong play with him on one song on that same performance.
Victor Wooten's coming. Victor Wooten's coming here in the area.
Oh, okay,
I'm gonna try to catch them. Yeah,
nice.
I've never seen them live. So that'd be fun.
That'll be fantastic. But yeah, check out Nate Smith if you're not familiar.
I will. I'm not familiar with them at all.
All
right.
He's really good.
My last choice, I guess our final choice. This is my fifth choice.
Your first final choice.
Right. This gentleman played with I got introduced to him I guess in the 80s. But he played he came to my attention playing with Sting. And
I know who you're talking about.
Yeah. There's something very minimalistic about his style, but it always felt great to me. And I don't know that I'm attracted to his sound so much, but I'm attracted to the way he attacks the drums.
Yeah.
And his name is Mano Keche.
Oh, so good.
And he is just super tasteful. And the track that really captivated me and made me want to really pay attention to him is the opening track to Soul Cage's Island of Souls. It's just the way it comes in when he finally hits that snare whenever it's coming in. And I just like, who is this guy playing drums? And I never did that. I don't remember really asking that, but there was something super attractive about his style to me. And then I got really intrigued with how he played with all these other people. And
Gabriel, he's done great stuff with Gabriel, and he
so
plays on half the tracks on Robert Robertson's first solo album are made by his drumming. Somewhere down the Crazy River, stuff like that. Oh my gosh!
Showdown at Big Sky. Was he on that track? Broken Arrow.
I think. Yeah, broken. Yeah, I think those are his tracks, and because Bazio's on there, and
oh really? I didn't know. that.
He plays on. I can't remember. Anyway, look it up, y'all. But I don't want to get too sidetracked. But yeah, Manu is awesome, and his solo stuff is amazing as well.
And he's a very thoughtful guy. The way he in his interviews, he's French.
Yes, mm-hmm.
He's just he seems like a good guy, and he loves music. He loves the art and I love anybody who's passionate about what they do, and always wanted to be the best musician they can. But again, to serve this song, he is not a showboat.
But his playing is so good. His playing is a showboat. I mean,
it
really stands out.
What he's going to do.
It really stands out so much. You're like, he's not even. It doesn't even sound like he's playing anything, and it's like, this sounds so freaking cool.
I think he just must be this charismatic guy that you just drawn to. He must be that kind of person because his style is just really attractive to me. But I love the way he plays drums.
Oh yeah, so
I've
good.
always,
So good.
ever since I've known about him for the last 30 plus years, I'm just a huge fan of his. So it's my final choice.
Great choice.
Okay, well,
Tremendous choice.
indeed.
Great. Great.
I don't know who that is.
Really?
I really
Is that
don't.
right?
You're
I
Wow.
don't.
well. I gotta
I'm
go,
I'm
y'all.
listening to the
Oh,
wrong kind
wow.
of music. Send me
Oh,
your
wow.
list, guys, so I know what to listen for. No, I'm not. That's number two
Is it
that I
April 1st? Is it April 1st? I can't talk.
number two that I'm not familiar with tonight. So yeah, I'm learning stuff
Okay.
tonight. My number one favorite drummer of all time.
Otis
This was a
Redding.
tough choice. Between Grant Griggs
Mhm.
and but no, I heard this in your drumming when we first met, and never got to see ELP, never got to see Asia. And I remember sending you a message the night after we saw him in concert. Carl Palmer group sent you a message, or I posted something online saying, "Seeing my favorite drummer with my favorite drummer." Carl Palmer is just the epitome of a rock and roll drummer. There's those jazz influences you hear. Um, he knows how to push and pull the beat. His solos are so flashy, and he's always having fun. Hell, he's still doing it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Touring the country and still having a phenomenal time. And such a powerful drummer. Um, his style just appeals to me. I've always, I've not tried to emulate him because I've never really tried to emulate any musician, but I certainly have picked up on a few things that I appreciate about him, and just phenomenal. I love to listen to Carl Palmer, whether he's playing with Emerson Lake of Palmer or Asia or
Mm-hmm.
whomever. He's just extraordinary, and he's like the yardstick for me of what a rock drummer should be.
I could not agree more. And again, he's one of those drummers that just it always felt good to me. I mean, everything from Tarkus, to Heat of the Moment, it all felt good. It never felt like it was just parts.
Yeah.
Yeah,
To me, that's the sign of a great musician. It just can't be parts. It's got
yeah,
to fit and it's got to work. But his style, I love his sound. It's it just he did what worked for him. But
yeah.
I love how his parts fit with all the music.
With Emerson Lake and Palmer, he's so indulgent. Of course, all of that music was
Oh
indulgent,
yeah.
and
Yeah, that was the
he
time.
had, if you listen to his solo side of the Works album, there's so many different types of percussion in that, and he was always learning. When they had time off, he would brush
Yeah.
up on his skills, his reading skills or timpani skills. So he was always interested in the instrument he's playing.
Yeah.
But also when when Asia's first album came out, he fit in so well in pop rock contexts.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
He still knew to push and pull the beat, but he knew when to come in and when not to, just to play for
Yeah.
the song. So, he can be restrained, or he can just go nuts on the kit and have a good time. And I always have a good time listening to him.
I'm a fan.
Definitely. Yep. Great choice.
But you're really close though.
Oh well, it's okay.
You're on the list.
Next time. All right. My final choice is a cat from a band you may have heard of, but I'm gonna mention his name first. Larnell Lewis. If you're not familiar with Larnell, he drums for a band called Snarky Puppy.
Oh, I've heard. Yeah, I'm not familiar with him as a drummer though. Sorry.
Yeah, but he's got his own stuff too. But this is a song called "No Access." A song he wrote. It's straight jazz, traditional jazz from
Right.
the album "Relive the Memory." Sorry, my handwriting was too small. Yeah, the album's called "Relive the Memory." It's a couple years old, but yeah, Larnell Lewis is tremendous, and that's not an
good word.
yeah. It's not an overstatement. It's probably an understatement when you hear him. It just feels good. Everything he plays feels good, and everything he plays is cool, and the solo stuff he does is amazing. Just such an underrated. I don't think obviously a lot of people don't know about him, but I don't even think a lot of musicians know about him. But he's kind of like Nate. It's just so under the radar. And a lot of people know Snarky Puppy, but
Yeah.
but yeah, just he can play proggy, he can play jazzy, he can play rock, just all around. But everything he's done. First time I discovered him, there was some clip playing just randomly. I think it was from YouTube, might have been Instagram, and I was like, I think my phone just ran. I wasn't even looking at my phone, and my phone was just playing through stuff. You know how it does. And I heard something. I was like, "What in the heck is that?" Okay, that's not the usual thing. And I thought it was a drummer from like the 50s or 60s because it was that good. It wasn't typical sounding like you always hear. And I was like, okay, who is this cat? And then you got to do a deep dive. But yeah, just if you're not familiar with Larnell Lewis, just check it out. Either his solo stuff or work with Snarky Puppy, either one. But I love his solo jazz stuff. It's just it's modern sounding, but it's also so traditional. It's like if you didn't tell anybody, this could have been a Miles Davis track or a Coltrane track or something like that, because he's just such a good writer as well.
Right.
Well, I haven't heard his solo stuff, but Snarky Puppy's such a fun band.
Oh yeah,
and he seems to have a good time playing.
Yeah,
with him.
He's a cool cat.
Yeah, he
no
really
understatement. He just every interview I've seen, or he's just so freaking cool, laid back, having fun.
Yeah.
Now, am I wrong to say that David Crosby used Snarky Puppy in his later years on this records? Some of the members, not maybe the complete band, but members of Snarky Puppy. Is that correct?
I'm not sure. It could be. It could, because they've been around quite a while as well.
I am almost positive that some of the members that were on David Crosby's the last couple of solo records, or maybe
possibly when he was trying to get more hits.
I think David Crosby has always been somebody I've admired. I know he wasn't popular in terms of his personality, but I've always loved his vision, and he had some beautiful songs, in my opinion. So I think he had great ears. So it wouldn't surprise me if he did use Snarky Puppy, but I believe that's correct. Well, cool. That was fun.